They say when a baby is born, so is a mother. But while you are there to help your baby grow into the person he or she is meant to be, who is there to help you? Many women feel lost and alone when they become mothers, wondering, who am I now? Sometimes it feels like the transformation from woman to mother is as radical as a caterpillar's transformation into a butterfly. Did you know that inside the chrysalis, the caterpillar literally turns into goop before it rearranges itself into a butterfly? This podcast is about the goop, what soul transformation looks like as you transition from being a woman to a mom. Your baby's growth matters, but yours does too. You're not alone. I'm your host, Brittany Ming. Welcome to the Motherhood Metamorphosis.
Welcome everyone to this episode of the Motherhood Metamorphosis. My name is Brittany Ming and I'm your host, and today we're talking to Heather Creekmore. Heather writes and speaks hope to thousands of women each week, inspiring them to stop comparing and start living. The host of the internationally popular Compared to Who podcast, she has been featured on Fox News, Huff Post, Morning Dose, Church Leaders, and For Every Mom, along with dozens of other shows and podcasts. She was a contestant on Nailed It, the hit Netflix Bake Fails show. Heather and her Marine fighter pilot turned pastor husband, Eric, have 4 children and live in Austin, Texas. So welcome, Heather. I'm so happy that you're on today.
It's so great to be with you, Brittany. Thanks for having me.
So I remember when I first met you and we were all like, you were on Nailed It? And we got the lowdown of being on that baking show. I don't know if people have watched it, but it's hilarious. And I love that you're on the first season.
Yep. Episode 1, because my cake was just that bad.
Nailed it.
Yep.
So we met a long time ago in Texas at a writers conference. And then we met again at another type of writers retreat. And I've loved following you on Facebook and seeing your journey as a writer, because you have several books out about body image and seeing ourselves as women, seeing ourselves as moms, and seeing our bodies as good. And I just wanted to hear your story of what brought you to this place of encouraging women about their bodies, and hear your story and journey as a woman and a mom.
Oh, yeah. Well, nothing surprises me more than the fact that this is what I'm talking about, because this was I'm going to say almost lifelong struggle for me. I distinctly remember in the 3rd grade looking in my mirror. I had a full mirror in the corner of my room, and I was wearing these pink leather pants, Brittany. I think they call it vegan leather now. Used to be called pleather. So it's fake leather. And I had these pink pants that I had pegged my mom for. And I remember looking in that mirror thinking, pink pants kind of make my legs look big. And so I went to school and I started comparing the size of my legs to the size of the legs of the other little girls. And I'd like to say that that stopped in 3rd grade. I got sort of a conclusive answer and never did it again, but that would not be true. And so really what that started for me was a habit of comparison and fixating/obsessing over how I could shrink and change my body. So by middle school, I was dieting. My mom was very good at dieting, so I had help. And by high school, I had decided that I could do even better than dieting. I could see how long I could go without eating. And so what would happen is most days I would be able to make it all day long without eating anything. But then I'd get home from school after a busy, day with lots of activities, and I would be, believe it or not, hungry. Go figure.
Imagine that, right?
And so I would eat and eat and eat and eat dinner regularly with my family. So it's not like they would really observe, that anything was different or wrong. And I would go to bed and kind of vow to myself that the next day I was going to do better. Like the next day I was going to be able to eat less. And by the time I got to college, I went to college kind of early. I went to college right after I turned 17. I skipped my senior year of high school. And I'm 17 years old and I'm a college student. And really what I'm worried about as a college student is gaining weight. Academics, not making friends. It's like, oh no, the freshman 15 Loomis. And so really I did. I gained weight my freshman year because the food there was much better than diet food or any of the food my mom made growing up. So, and what this started for me, Brittany, was then I would go to college and I would eat, some of it was emotional, right? Too, because you're stressed, you're alone, all the things, it's social. But then I would come home and I would fast. And just do like the lemonade with maple syrup and those, crazy grapefruit like juice fast kind of thing. And so by the time I got to my sophomore year of college, I lost my period
Mm.
and I lost it for 9 months. And nowadays, we just got a lot more access to information. And then this was the early 1990s. We got a lot more information and a lot better technology too. But so back in the early 90s when this was happening, there were two categories for eating disorders. You were either anorexic or you were bulimic. And I wasn't purging, not because I hadn't tried, but because I couldn't do it.
Mhm.
And I didn't look underweight. I was just more of a normal weight girl. So there was no classification for someone that was a normal weight to be anorexic at the time. Now there is, but there wasn't then. And so I really believed I just had a normal girl problem, that every woman I ever met had the same issues with food, the same struggles with her body. I really just thought that this was the way it had to be because I was a woman and everyone I knew, really from my grandmother, who was still buying expensive wrinkle cream in her 80s, really into her 90s, to my mom, my, aunts, friends, like this is what everyone did. They felt like their bodies weren't enough and they spent their life, at least some portion of their life, trying to change it.
Mhm.
And so I really also believed, I would say, Brittany, that I thought it was possible to change my body in such a way where I wouldn't struggle anymore.
Mm. That
Right. And
was that your goal? Was it I don't want to struggle anymore, or it had changed from being thin, or was that kind of like compounded together?
yeah, I mean, that's a really good question because I think I'm a lot clearer on it now that I have had like years literally to study this and work with other people. I think I would have just told you my goal was to be thin and look better. But
Mhm.
but I'm very aware of this truth that it wasn't just getting thinner. It was also my hair wasn't right, when everyone else's hair was curly, mine was stick straight and the perm didn't hold, right? My skin wasn't right. And I was trying, all the name brand, all the infomercial brands of, skin cleansers and such. And nothing was work just right. And so it was really more than just, getting a smaller body. It was, I really believed that it was possible with enough work and determination and energy that it was possible to get to the point where I would just be really happy with my body and the way I looked.
Yeah.
And so that I don't know that I would have articulated it to you like that, but that was really what I believed. That was the dream,
Yeah.
to just be able just to like sit back and relax. And yay, I've arrived.
Yeah.
Now, the ironic thing is, and I don't like want to jump ahead of you, but like the ironic thing is, and it's kind of a hilarious thing, is that like in reality, we know that's not true, right? Like you see the before and after picture, and after symbolizes arrival, right? Like, oh, she's made it. Wow, look at her now. But she can't just sit there,
No,
right?
you have to keep on doing those things.
Like chance of staying there because aging is real. Right? So, like, even if you can do all those things to keep yourself as close as possible. And I mean, and I would argue, 4 hours after you take that picture, you could be bloated or, hormones shift, your face looks different, or like all the different things, right? But even if you could somehow maintain it, right? Gravity and time are working against you.
Yes.
So an after picture is not a rival, right?
Mhm.
It's just another like step on the path. And and I'll tell you from my own experience that even when I weighed the number that I thought I always wanted to weigh and wore the size that I thought I'd be content to wear, and, got my hair done professionally and makeup done professionally for my wedding because I was so worried about my wedding pictures. Like, Brittany, I got those wedding pictures back. And I mean, I remember feeling afraid to look at them. And I look at them now and I'm like, who was that very small thin woman, right? But But it's so, and so this kind of ties it back to like body image issues are not about the way we look. They're about something much deeper.
Mm,
And yet culture just tells us over and over again, well, just change the way you look. Like if you're not happy with the way you look, change the way you look and then you'll be happy.
mhm.
But it ignores the reality that I don't know if you've seen the Taylor Swift documentary, but like Taylor Swift wasn't happy with the way she looked. And Carrie Underwood has lots of interviews out there where she's never been happy with the way she looked. And it's like over and over again, we hear about celebrities and supermodels who have body image issues. So it's like, wait a second, if they haven't fixed it, if they haven't mastered it, like there's something going on here below the surface, and we've got to stop trying to address it as a physical issue and really get to the heart of the matter.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you're saying it comes back to something inside of us. And we see this in our culture, we see this in celebrity culture, but it's also like in our own bathrooms when we look in the mirror. It's when we walk by that scale and we wonder, should I weigh myself today? Do I really want to know like the truth? Are my pants giving me enough information? You know, I'm wondering if you can tell us more of this narrative about how this came in when you became a mom,
Mm,
and maybe a specific story that you have about a shift for you that came.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I really believed first, I believed that marriage would fix it for me because I thought once a man told me I was good enough and like put a ring on it, then I would be like fixed. Like, it's like,
Mhm.
okay, well, I have the seal of approval now. But even more so than marriage, I really believed motherhood would fix it. Now, it might sound ridiculous, right? Because like to enter into motherhood, at least, if you have children without adoption, right? If you have children, n- you gain weight, right? Or at least most of us do. So it is kind of silly that I would have thought like this vehicle by which I was going to gain all these pounds was going to fix my body image issues. But follow me here. I really thought it was going to be such an important job, like keeping kids alive was going to consume so much of my brain space that I really thought it would crowd out all of that brain energy that went towards what did I eat? What do I need to eat? How do I lose more weight? What kind of exercise should I do? How many calories did I have? Did I burn off enough calories? Like that constant riddling in my head. I thought it would go away when I was like, oh, I've got to keep little people alive now. And it didn't work. Somehow I had
Somehow
the
that didn't work.
capacity to just have it all. Right. And I remember going for the weigh in. So I had four babies in just over 4 years. So my youngest turned five, excuse me, my oldest turned 5 3 months after my youngest was born. So no twins in there, just boom, boom, boom. And, every single opportunity to go to the OBGYN felt like a Weight Watchers meeting, which I had been to many in the church basement with my mother before, right? I was like, oh, you're going to weigh me now. Like, take off the heavy jewelry. Can I just run to the bathroom one more time before we do this? Just to make sure it's a little lighter. And so there was a lot of that was triggering for me. But it was after I had my fourth. So now I have four babies, four and under. And it was really the first time that, I really felt like, well, so I'm a Christian and I really felt like it was God who kind of showed me that I had been thinking about this issue all wrong.
Mm,
Shortly thereafter, so I was working for the Dallas Moms blog. And so I was writing mommy blog stories, like lots of fun, but I was also their public relations person. And shortly, like after that, we were it was Christmas time. We were, getting ready to build my daughter's Barbie dream house. And I got a call from someone in the press looking to interview a mom on the topic of Barbie and whether or not Barbie gave girls body image issues. And I'm on this call, Brittany, and I'm looking in my living room at the box of the Barbie dream house. Maybe it's right after Christmas because we were like, oh, we got to build that for it. We got to build that for it. And I'm looking at that and I'm looking at my daughter and I'm talking to this reporter and I'm thinking, I don't really think it's Barbie's fault.
mm,
Like, I know there's a big movement back then there was actually a crowd-funded Barbie doll called Lamely that came into being then, and that was kind of the push for Mattel to have Barbie dolls of different sizes, because this crowd-funded doll that looked more like an Olympic gymnast to me, but this crowd-funded doll did okay. And so Mattel was like, oh, maybe we need to make Barbies that aren't just like, tall and thin that would fall over if they were real. Like, maybe we need different sizes. But I remember talking to that reporter and thinking, like, this is not about Barbie. It's not about bodies. It's about something deeper. So if I'm going to help my daughter not have the same body image issues that her mom had, what are the conversations we need to be having? Like,
Mm.
where do we need to take this issue? And so, yeah.
So when you had that epiphany, where did you go
Mhm.
from there? Did you go inward? Did you like read lots of books or talk to your friends? Like, what does that look like when we're looking, if we've come from this long line, either culturally or with our own family, with our own personal struggles of body image issues, like it's just like ingrained in us. How do we change that narrative for ourselves first and then for our children and specifically our
Yeah.
daughters?
Yeah. And to kind of answer the last part first, like, I think we have to change it for ourselves first, right? Because I think it's completely ineffective. And I see this all the time, candidly, where the mom is saying, I tell my daughter she's beautiful. I tell her she doesn't need to lose weight. I tell her that I wish I had a body as good as hers. And then I see the mom posting her, like, calorie counts or like workout burn numbers, like, consistently on Facebook and Instagram for the world to see. Or, I see things like that signal to me like, wait, mom is still struggling to feel okay. And not that there's anything bad with working out. Like, don't hear that, because that's not what I'm saying. Instead, I'm saying that there's a level of obsession, shall we say? Maybe that's too strong, but there's a level of focus on it
Mhm.
that is abundantly clear in some of those posting behaviors.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, mom, if you are uber focused on this, she's going to learn more by what she sees you modeling and
Mhm.
hears you saying about yourself. And, for me, I remember one time my daughter saw me looking in the mirror, and I think I was putting on mascara. So, kind of in my defense, like, you have to make kind of funny faces at yourself in the mirror when you put on mascara, right? Like, her mouth's open wide and it's really awkward. But I remember my daughter saying, Mom, why do you always frown at yourself in the mirror? I was like, ooh. Ah. And I'm like, oh, because that's how mommy puts on makeup. But she really showed me in that moment was I am teaching her so much more by what I do than by what I say. And so you asked if I turned inward or started researching. I mean, it really was inward. I mean, for me, this was kind of part of my faith journey,
Mhm.
is what it was. But it was really a matter of recognizing that everything I saw around me, like all the messages everywhere, were telling me that I could fix it through fixing my body.
Mm.
And at
Yeah.
this point in my journey, I had tried that. Like, I had some success in that front, and it was never enough. And so it kind of came to the point where it's like, wait a second, what's the definition of insanity? Every January, I make new resolutions, right? It's never enough, or I never get there, right? Like, I have been on this nonstop treadmill for so long. What's it actually going to take to make it stop?
Mhm.
Because it's not a size, it's not a
Mhm.
weight. It's got to be something deeper.
So what was that deeper thing for you? Like what truth did you come to adopt in your own life that
Yeah.
changed and gave you more peace about who this body that you have, that you're carrying
Yeah.
around with you, that you're showing to the world, and that you are, interacting with your children and your husband and your family? Like, what brought you more peace in your life about that?
Yeah. So for me, it was recognizing that these ideals that I had were actually kind of idols I had constructed.
Mm.
Right. And so, for the person listening who has a faith background, right, it might be clear that, like, idols are something that in the Bible, like, God doesn't want us to worship idols. He wants us to worship him. But even for those without a faith background, we think about, like, I'm just thinking about the show American Idol, right? like we have all these idols in our culture, like people like celebrities, right? That we have put up on a pedestal and
Mhm.
we follow them on Instagram and TikTok. And we want to be like them and tell me how you're eating, tell me how you're exercising so I can be just like you. And for me, like the truth of that, like I discovered, or really that I believe God kind of showed me, was that like that wasn't the path for freedom for me.
Mm.
Like, because he didn't make me to be just like them. Right. And there's like this, I have a whole section in my new book on this, but like we are bio individual people,
Mhm.
right? You and I could eat the exact same way for 3 months and we will have completely different like outcomes at the end of 3 months, right? Because our bodies are different. I remember my doctor put me on a vegan diet to try to cure some of my health issues that had surfaced when I turned 40. And at the end of 21 days, I went in and I was like, I want to chew on my thumb. Like, as weird as that sounds, like I need some meat. And we got my blood work back. And she was like, it's so strange, Heather. Like, this works for most people. But for you, everything got so much worse. Apparently, you really need meat. And so it proved to me, like, again, like I can't like want to be like someone and try to model my life after theirs and think that that is going to lead to something good for me. And so there's a pastor that I love and he passed away recently. But he has a kind of a quote or saying that the freedom is found in self-forgetfulness. And that changed everything for me. Now, I'm not saying self-neglect, right? I think a lot of us want to be black and white thinkers in these areas. Self-neglect. I'm not saying freedom is found in not taking care of yourself. But for me, the freedom was found in not obsessing over myself,
Mm.
not having to think about myself all the time, giving myself the space to just be who I was with the body that I have right now at this point in time and space and to take the pressure, right?
Mhm.
To stop trying to have to be like her or her or her and do it her way or her way or her way and shaming myself because it didn't work for me like that. Or I tried that and I couldn't stick with it because I like meat or whatever the thing may be. Right. And just relaxing and be like, okay, what really was I put on this planet for? It's probably for more than just looking good in a bathing suit.
Mm. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
fill
Go
up
ahead.
our brain space, and most of us would say, "Of course, I'm not put on the earth to look good in a bathing suit," but our brain space is filled up with um, maybe excessive exercise routines, or feeling bad about ourselves, or punishing ourselves because we were so naughty over the weekend with our
Right.
eating that we really have to get back on the straight and narrow, during the week. These things that fill up our brains and don't make room for what is my life really about? What do I want to
Right.
give to the world? Who do I want to show up for in my marriage or my friendships or to my children? And I think that obsessing, and I'm with you. Like, I can obsess about these things and it's hard. I think it can be really hard too, as our bodies naturally change throughout motherhood. Because I think if there's any rule about women's bodies, it's change. I read somewhere, I don't know if I'm going to make this up. I'm going to make up a stat right now, but I know I read this, that like even just the woman's bra size will change like 7 times throughout her
Mm,
lifetime.
I believe it.
And we think like, "Oh, I'm supposed to be this 34B that I
Right.
was when I was a sophomore in high school,"
Right.
And it's not
Right.
the same, and it's
Right.
gonna change, and if we think, "Okay, it's normal and natural that I'm gonna be changing bra sizes 7
Right.
times throughout my lifetime. Oh, maybe I'm only on
Right.
number 4 right now." Like, "I've got 3
Right.
more to go." Maybe that's
Right.
just the average. And I think if we normalize change and we say, this
Mhm.
body that I am showing up with every day is good and is bringing good to the world. And how can I be good to myself now?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So think about it. I mean, my daughter's gone through puberty already, but I think about like when she was 11, 12, 13, like how damaging it would have been if I was like, oh, your body's changing. Don't let your body change. Oh no, we got to do something. Oh, your hips are getting, we got to do something. Like you would never approach it like that.
Hmm.
And yet, when we get in our 40s, or we'll even bounce back culture, right? Right after you have a baby, right? Like,
Right.
oh, better go back to the exact same way you were. I mean, my arms got longer
My
after my
feet got
first child.
my feet got bigger. I don't
Yeah.
wear the same size shoe anymore.
Yep.
Seriously, like that blew my mind. But no, I am no
Yep.
longer a 6.5. I am now a 7. I cannot
Yep.
fit into those shoes anymore.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, so, but how crazy would it be to tell a 48-year-old woman who is on the other side of her childbearing years, right? That, oh, no, your body shouldn't change. Make sure you don't let it change. Like, do whatever you can to not, like, it's ridiculous. We would never do that on the front end. But yet the expectation and the messaging to us is no, nothing's ever supposed to change. You just keep it the same. So I love that 7 bra size changes. I've
Yeah.
experienced that. I don't think
Yes.
I'm at
Me
7 yet
too.
either, but I'm at least at 4 or 5.
Yeah. Well, I think it's also we can think of like body changes happening because of our, expanding and contracting with pregnancy and birth and postpartum. But I think also it can happen with the way that we're trying to show up as moms. And so I'll tell this short story for myself in that my husband's military and he was deployed last year. And so before his deployment, it wasn't our first one, and I knew it was going to be hard. And so I went to my doctor and I'm like, how can I set myself up for success mentally? Because I've struggled with my mental health in the past. And with and I know I struggle with anxiety and depression. So we started on some different meds, and I got an antidepressant before he left because I wanted to be able to support my body in the best way possible while he was deployed. And I also started experiencing, as a side effect of anxiety, a lot of heart palpitations. So, in addition to this antidepressant, I also went on beta blockers.
Mhm.
I didn't really know it when it happened, but beta blockers can reduce your metabolism by up to 50%. And so, this whole year, my body, this is what I remind myself of, your body took care of 5 kids solo for 6 months.
Right.
Your body went through reintegration, which is when your family comes back together again, and through summer, which is summer with 5 kids, is no joke.
Mhm.
Teenagers and getting up at night with the 4-year-old who still doesn't sleep through the night, all these things, your body did that things. And I also gained 20 pounds. And I've thought, wow, like I'm past my childbearing year. I mean, I'm done having kids. I'm still going through normal fluctuations of menstruation throughout the month, but I've never gained 20 pounds. And I thought, wow, I am exercising more than ever. I'm eating healthy. I'm getting enough sleep. Well, I probably wasn't getting enough sleep because, who gets enough sleep? But I'm like, these 20 pounds are making me crazy. But
Yeah.
I couldn't do anything about it until I got off those meds. And
Mhm.
that was a long process because I
Mhm.
needed to be ready to do that. And
Yeah.
also the weaning process has taken, I'm on my last week of weaning off these meds and it's taken 5 months.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so it's this idea of how do I want to show up best? And for me, during that time, was taking medication to support myself, but also being patient with a body that was gaining weight as a side effect. And I just remember I had this full length mirror in my room, and I thought when I would take off my clothes at night and, into my pajamas, and I'd look at myself, and I just, you look to the side, you look from behind, and you think, ah, but then I thought, no, I can't do that. And I would just thank myself. I'm like, thank you for showing up for me, body. You
Yeah.
have come through a lot. And I just tried to thank myself every single time I would catch a
Mhm.
glimpse of myself
Mhm.
and just shoo out those negative voices. Now, do I want the number on the scale to be a whole lot lower? Yes. I'm working on weaning off meds. I'm still doing the
Yeah.
things I want to do. I still have that goal. But like I think that narrative change from inside
Mhm.
can be as small as saying, thank you, body, for
Right.
getting me up when I have migraines.
Right.
Thank you for getting me up, to breastfeed my child or to formula feed my child when I couldn't breastfeed.
Yeah.
Things that bring us anxiety or depression or things like that, taken like those weigh on our body and they can change it.
Right.
Sometimes we lose weight, sometimes we gain weight, sometimes it's
Right.
stubborn and
Right.
we can't lose weight.
Right.
But
Well,
his
yeah,
body is good and it's still bringing us forward every
your
day.
your body's goal is to keep you alive. And so most of the time we put on weight, I mean, you're clearly able to connect it to your medication, but most of the time we put on weight, it's a protective measure,
Mhm.
right? So what happens a lot of times, like in the dieting cycle, is we go on a diet, we restrict our calories, right? And then we gain right after the diet is over. And I mean, the studies show that 95% of dieters will have this happen. They'll gain back all the weight, most times plus some, within 5 years. Average is 2 years, right? And we beat ourselves up for it. We're like, oh, dang, body, come on, why would or like, oh, I just don't have the willpower, or why
Right.
did I
Yeah.
stop
I'm
doing
not
that?
strong enough.
But
Yeah.
but it's physiology, because your body is like, we were starving. And so to make sure we never have to experience starving again, we're going to store more this time. So we're ready for the next time we're starving. Right. And, so like I'll call into question. I mean, we've really only been dieting as a culture for maybe 80, 100 years. But like, everyone's like, oh, we're fatter now because the kind of foods we eat, and we have a sedentary lifestyle. Okay. Yes. And are we also fatter now because we've been dieting? Because we have put our bodies through these cycles of starvation, and then, oh, I need the stuff, I need the food. I mean, you had mentioned earlier the concept of like feeling guilty or shameful about like, oh, I ate this thing that wasn't good, or I shouldn't have eaten that, or whatever. But like, even in that, think about it, Brittany, like in the 1980s and 90s, I was eating carbohydrates only, because that's how you got thin.
Yes.
I would have a plain bagel and I would spray butter on it, right? Because the spray butter didn't have any fat in it. So I would spray chemicals on my plain bagel so as to be skinny. In the year 2012, when I was introduced to keto, I would not touch a plain bagel. Those things will kill you.
And
I
make
was
you fat.
making, right, I was making fat bombs, trying to eat as much fat as eating a whole stick of butter with some nuts and other, right? Like, we have been jerked around in terms of, oh, eggs are good, eggs are bad, carbs are good, carbs are bad. Like, if we follow culture on this, it's like a bad boyfriend, right? And so even in that, we shame ourselves like, oh, I had carbs today. Bad me, bad me. But wait a second. Carbs were okay 20 years ago. Like, what's going on here? Like, we've got to, I think, kind of take a step back from all this. We've got way too much access for information, and some of that's
Yeah.
good and some is not good. But maybe take a step back and be like, what makes my body feel good? Like, what
Yes.
fuels me well for what I need to do today?
Mm-hmm.
And, I did the no carb thing. And you know what I had to do? I had to take a nap every afternoon. I did the intermittent fasting thing, and I had to take a nap every afternoon because I would eat so much when I finally broke my fast that it would make my blood sugar go crazy, and I would crash, and I would have to take a nap. And so finally now I'm at the place where I'm like, I eat some carbs, I eat some protein, I eat some fat. And you know what? I have the energy to go all day. And it's like I eat a sandwich and I'm like, this is really fascinating. Sandwiches are good and they make me feel good all afternoon. And it's like, who would have thought? So it's so strange, these rules that we put on ourselves, and the way we shame ourselves for not meeting these rules. And it's like, wait a second, maybe I just need to break away from what everyone else is telling me and go with what feels good for my body,
Yes.
and let
What
my
feels
body
good.
do what it needs to do to keep me alive.
Right. And how can I make the voice in my head kinder? Because I think that if we are kind to ourselves, we're going to be kinder to our little child who's watching us.
Right.
Maybe because we're changing that narrative for ourselves, we can change the narrative for our daughter who's coming up. Because a lot of times, if we don't know how, we know maybe something wasn't right growing up, we want to do something different, but we can't just start with the next generation. We have to start with us
Right.
and saying, and maybe that starts with kindness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that kindness. And I would say this is something. So I do coaching one-on-one with women and in groups. And the first thing I have them do through our coaching is to identify like those things that they are saying to themselves. Because for most of us, these negative things, these mean comments that we're saying to ourselves, like, we don't even acknowledge them. We hear them, we believe them, but we don't even hear them for what they are. And I have my clients picture like the scariest, like sketchiest looking guy. I have a picture of him that I send them. They're like, imagine this scary, sketchy guy saying these things to you. Would you believe it from him? Well, no. Like, I wouldn't. Like, who is he? I don't respect him. It's like, okay, that's who's saying these mean things to you. It's not you. It's coming from him. And then separating it out where it's like, oh yeah, I don't have to believe that.
Yeah.
That actually isn't true.
Mhm.
No, that's not,
I think
so
I think separating that out and making that mean voice somebody that would, that you would never listen to is so good.
yeah.
But I also think that looking inward it reminds me of my friend, and she has a picture of herself at 5 years old, and she has it on
Mm,
her bathroom mirror.
mm,
And she has a phrase next to that picture and says, "I'm going to take care of you today."
mm, yeah.
And I think if we turn that inner voice around to say, not the mean thing, but I'm
Mhm,
going to take care of you today.
mhm,
And whatever that means in the best way possible, whether it's
right.
eating foods that nourish you, whether it's moving your body in a way that feels good and healthy, whether it's getting the sleep and rest that you need in whatever season you're in. Because different seasons require more rest than others. We
Absolutely.
cannot just push ourselves to exhaustion.
Right.
That doesn't serve anybody. But I think turning inward in a way with kindness can be a way we can stop the comparison
Mhm,
to other people and just work on our own inner voice.
mhm,
Well, Heather, I'm so glad you came on. I think this is a topic that we all deal with, but very
mhm.
few people want to talk about. And so I'm really thankful that you are willing to talk about it, you write about it, you podcast about it. And I am just really thankful that you are doing the work that you're doing because it's very, very needed.
Thanks, Brittany.
I like to end our time with a question. So it is this today. What are you doing to enjoy your life this week?
Yeah. So I heard this from someone else, and I've been trying to apply it maybe for a year now. But when I rest, I try to pretend like I'm on vacation. Now, that might sound silly because probably other people are better at resting than I am. But for me, like if I just have like a break in my day for like an hour, my normal would be like, oh, I have a break. What else can I get done? Like, I'll get ahead for tomorrow, oh, time to get. And so I'm trying to be intentional about taking a break. And then, okay, this is the frivolity part. Like if I'm on vacation, like I'll watch movies.
Hmm.
Like that's, and so my new habit is to, if I'm gonna take a break, I'm just gonna go sit on the couch and I'm gonna watch, it's not a whole movie, nor I'm gonna watch part of something. Just pretend I'm here on vacation and
I
then
love
go back to work. And I mean, it's kind of silly, but it's really helped me kind of separate. I work from home, obviously. And so it's kind of helped me separate my work day from my rest time during the day and given me a little bit of way to rejuvenate.
I love that. For those who are listening, where can we find you online and in the various places around the internet?
Yeah. So my website is improvebodyimage.com. And my podcast is called Compared to Who. But either place, you'll find links to all my books. I've got 3 books released, and I've got a book on aging coming out in April. And yeah, they're available everywhere books are sold, Amazon, all the places, but improvebodyimage.com and then on socials as Compared to Who.
Thank you, Heather. I really enjoyed having you on today.
Thanks for having me, Brittany.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Motherhood Metamorphosis. If you've enjoyed this episode, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to this channel so you never miss an episode. Next, tell your friends. Podcasts are a slow growth type of social media, so promo works best when it's from person to person. If you know another mom who's in the goop right now, send her a text of encouragement and the link to the episode that is speaking to your heart right now. If you have a story about your own matrescence, the physical, emotional, hormonal, and social transition that occurs when someone becomes a mother, please leave a comment below. I want this channel to be a place where women can build community about the challenges and joys of their own motherhood metamorphosis. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope it encouraged you and gave you some good food for thought. If you ever have any questions, comments, or you'd like to reach out to me personally, you can email me at brittanyaming@gmail.com.
What is it, honey?
Amber, can you say that, Amber?
Ember?
Yeah.
I actually cannot turn on Ember right now. I'm sorry, honey. You want to say hi to Miss Heather?
Hi.
Hi.
Miss Amber.
Okay.
How are
You know
you?
what? I need
I'm
you.
my teacher, Miss Amber.
Your teacher is Miss Heather. This is a different
Ah.
Miss Heather. That's kind of funny. They have the same name, isn't it?
Yeah, Miss Heather, Miss Heather.
And it's Heather, Miss Heather. All right, you know what? I will turn on Ember as soon as I'm done talking, and that'll be in about
Okay.
25 minutes. Can you be patient? Okay, bye-bye.
Oh, it's okay.
Babe, I need you to stop, and when I'm done, I will come out, okay? Please don't knock anymore, okay? Oh my gosh.
I didn't hear a knocking,
Okay,
so
good.
that didn't come through.